That chilling sound, intercepted in 1963, the final words of a woman cosmonaut as her capsule burned in space. The Soviets denied it. No such mission ever existed. No such woman ever flew. But two Italian brothers recorded everything in SOS and Morse code, a flatlining heartbeat, and finally her desperate voice asking if she was going to explode. Was it a tragic cover-up or just a Cold War hoax? This is the APC-Files.
I'm Donna Dixon.
And I'm Mark Stewart.
Today we're going to have a look at APC case file number 1, the Lost Cosmonauts Dying Transmission.
It's not just, an old story. It really taps into the whole vibe of the space race.
Oh, absolutely. That context is just crucial. Think about the early 60s, specifically 1961. It's all Cold War all the time. U.S. versus Soviet Union.
And in space.
April 61, Yuri Gagarin makes that orbit. Huge win. Globally broadcast, it looked like Soviet tech and maybe communism itself was just unstoppable.
Which naturally puts this enormous pressure on them. It's like an almost unbearable pressure to keep winning.
Yeah.
To never show weakness, never fail publicly.
Exactly. And that pressure, well, that's where this idea of an unspoken history comes in. Gagarin was the poster boy, the success story. But the Soviets were moving so fast, throwing everything they had at this. Not every mission went perfectly. And if they did fail, poof, erased, gone from the record. This need for total secrecy, it's the bedrock for this whole Lost Cosmonauts idea.
Any mission that didn't succeed, any bodies floating up there, the official Soviet response was just denial. Complete silence.
And that silence is what makes the story of the Judica-Cordiglia Brothers so fascinating. They were the ones who claimed to have heard something through that silence. And importantly, they weren't spies or anything. They were amateur radio guys.
But brilliant ones, apparently. Didn't they use an old Nazi bunker?
They did. They called it Tor Burt. And look, their setup might have been DIY.
But it worked. How did they manage that? Tracking something moving that fast.
Well, they used things like Doppler shift analysis. They successfully tracked known Soviet signals. They even independently verified Gagarin's flight.
Okay, that's important. That gives them some real credibility up front. Why couldn't they track the failures the Soviets hid?
They started claiming they'd intercepted transmissions that Moscow just flat out denied ever existed.
Late 1960.
Yeah, stepping back a bit. The space program was even more secretive then, and in the fall of 1960, they reported picking up something specific. Not a voice, but Morse code. According to their logs, it was the universal distress call. SOS. Signals seemed to be fading out rapidly, the implication being that the craft was losing power.
Drifting away, out into deep space.
Then you look at their next big claim, early 1961. Just before Gagarin's flight.
What did they claim then?
Actual biomedical data, telemetry. They said they recorded a human heartbeat from an unacknowledged mission. And then, during the transmission, it just flatlined.
But authenticity, we have to ask. These guys, brilliant amateurs, sure, but still amateurs. Nobody else heard it. They controlled the evidence and the story.
It is dramatic. It sounds cynical, though. They built this credibility tracking real missions. Would they risk it all faking something relatively simple like a sound cutting out? So it's more likely they genuinely picked up biological telemetry from a mission the Soviets immediately buried.
But the stakes definitely got higher after that. The most famous recording, November 1963.
This one is different. It's not Morse code. It's not telemetry data. Yeah. It's a voice.
A woman's voice, right? Sounding panicked.
The idea that Valentina Tereshkova wasn't actually the first woman in space. That maybe someone went up before her and didn't come back. And the content of the recording, it's why it's so haunting. You can see flames just chilling. Am I going to crash? Someone realizing they're about to die alone. And the recording itself, the quality, It sounds distressed. There are gasps, interference increasing, like the vehicle might be tumbling or breaking up on re-entry.
We actually have the original audio recording connected to it.
Yeah, this is one of those rare moments where you can hear history or mystery straight from the source. Let's play it. Let's see what the evidence tells us and what might have really happened up there, because just hearing that...
Then it's a horrifying story. A woman dies, terrified, alone, and her government just wipes her from existence.
No family told, no announcement, just gone. Absolute silence.
But now we have to tackle the big question. Was it a hoax? But it's also the one that skeptics really pick apart. After 1961, they got famous, international recognition. And that fame, well, it provides a potential motive, doesn't it? If the early intercepts got them noticed.
Then capturing a dying woman cosmonaut would make them legends.
And look, we don't just have to speculate about motive. There's actual analysis of the tape itself. Linguists, people who actually speak Russian fluently, listened to that 1963 recording, and they flagged issues. Things that made them think it wasn't a native speaker.
But there's a counter to that. Think about the situation described in the tape.
So the mistakes are evidence of extreme stress, not a non-native speaker.
Exactly. Under that kind of duress, your language breaks down. Expecting perfect Russian grammar in that moment is just unrealistic.
It's a plausible explanation for the flaws. The panic muddles language argument is strong. Let's assume for a moment the Soviets did launch this woman and she died. The believer argument leans heavily on the fact that the Soviets were just incredibly good at cover-ups.
Absolute masters of erasing anything inconvenient or embarrassing. Think about the Kishtim disaster in 1957. A nuclear waste tank exploded in the Urals, thousands and thousands of square kilometers. They didn't just clean it up, they erased it. Moved whole towns, bulldozed villages, literally wiped the contaminated zone off the maps, kept it secret for decades. If the Soviet state could make that disappear, a huge land-based disaster affecting thousands, why couldn't they make one failed space mission vanish?
But the post-Soviet silence.
The archives opening up in the 90s after the collapse.
Exactly. Secrets that had been buried for decades were finally revealed. We learned about other hidden tragedies. The young cosmonaut trainee who died in that horrific fire in the oxygen chamber back in 1960.
And the Soviets completely covered it up, erased him from photos, pretended he never existed.
And we also learned the grim details about Vladimir Komarov and Soyuz 1 in 1967.
Both confirmed cover-ups, tragic examples of Soviet secrecy.
When all those archives opened, but absolutely nothing, not a single document about an unnamed woman burning up in orbit in November 1963.
That silence is the strongest point against the tapes, for sure.
If they eventually, sorta, admitted Bondarenko's death, why did the other cover-ups eventually leak, but not this one?
The level of secrecy involved. Bondarenko was a training accident within the military structure, but a secret, unacknowledged launch. Perhaps the documentation for that was handled differently, maybe at the very highest Politburo or KGB level, completely separate from normal military or space program archives.
So the records weren't just classified, they were physically destroyed immediately.
A cover-up so total, so high level, that it transcended even the secrecy applied to other failures.
But it requires believing this one cover-up was uniquely perfect.
And that's why it remains unsolved, doesn't it? You're balancing this incredibly evocative recording and the brothers' proven skills against that deafening silence from the archives.
Even if you lean towards skepticism like I do, you can't deny the power of this story, this myth.
The whole idea of lost cosmonauts had just fed perfectly into that Cold War mindset, didn't it? People wanted to believe the Soviets were hiding bodies in orbit.
They basically became the voice for that suspicion.
And I think maybe the impact of that recording matters more than whether it's factually true or not. Even if it was staged, hearing it, it feels real. It taps in some primal fear of dying alone, lost, forgotten. Those voices, real or not, they came to represent the sacrifice. For every Gagarin celebrated, there was this immense risk, this chance of horrific failure that would just be erased.
And because the Soviets could never admit failure, the mystery just lingers. It's like a ghost story from the Cold War.
And failure was the one thing they couldn't allow into the history book.
We'll likely never know for sure if that woman existed, but that voice is forever tied to the dark side of reaching for the stars. And it shows how some mysteries just resist being solved.
Yeah, it still gives me chills.
All right, case files wrapped.
This has been the APC Files.
See you next time.